to the Ukrainian Air Force. But Poland reportedly did not want the jets to leave for Ukraine from within its own borders for fear of Russian retaliation and suggested delivering them from a U.S. airbase instead. Vice President Kamala Harris will have a chance to smooth things over when she meets the Polish president in Warsaw on Thursday. Okay, let's see now if we can get some clarification. Marcin Buzanski is joining us. He is a senior advisor at the Warsaw Security Forum, and he joins us from the Polish capital. Sir, thank you very much for your time. Why do you think the U.S. rejected the Polish offer to send its fighter jets to Ukraine via the U.S. base Ramstein?
Thank you very much for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be here. Let me shed a little bit light on this process, because this exchange hasn't started with a Polish offer. This exchange has really started publicly with the announcement of the EU that it's approving a 500 billion unprecedented in its history package for military support, first one ever, and commenting on it, the High Representative for Foreign Policy, Josep Borrell, has underlined that it could be used for provision of military jets. Now, when everybody started putting one and one together, it came out that the only jets which could be given without previous need for training and systems applications for the military, for the Ukrainian military, would be the now infamous MiGs. And of course, Poland has 28 of them. So this is where really the exchange has started, and already over the weekend there have been intensive exchanges between Polish officials, NATO officials, and the U.S. About how to tackle this, how to deal with this, because there is actually quite a lot of will to get this equipment to the Ukrainians. But what has happened at the same time, we've had a bit of a diplomatic, I think, a frenzy which blew out a little bit out of proportions when following all the consultations in Poland and with other partners. Blinken mentioned that he might provide F-16s instead, and Poland is free to do it. Well, this was when the Polish response came from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs about the.
Well, the impression that we're getting is that the U.S. feels that this idea was sprung on them, and so they are resisting this proposal. Do you consider this idea now dead in the water?
I think this idea needs a little bit of calm around it, and not to take it out of proportion. I think it's a very difficult issue because it is clearly an escalation in delivery of military aid, if you can use those terms. There is a number of considerations. If an aircraft is starting a military aircraft from foreign territory into a war zone, it could be considered as active engagement. This is what the governments of NATO are trying to figure out how potentially to do it. I would say let them do it. And I would add to it that this is not the only way to start protecting Ukrainian air more intensively. We've got the surface-to-air missiles that can be delivered. We have much more Stinger missiles that can be delivered. We have UAVs that can be delivered on large scale. And we have also potential ideas if the Ukrainians could buy this equipment, could buy the used MiGs that could be implemented here. So I think we need to let the governments work around this a little bit out of the spotlight. But of course, there needs to be continued pressure on protecting Ukrainian air, because it is absolutely critical to support the Ukrainian army in this area.
And your country is on the forefront of this. Weapons to support Ukraine go through Poland. Poland has taken in more than 1 million refugees from Ukraine. Talk to us about Poland's role in this conflict.
Well, of course, it's a frontline country, if we can say this. There is a nearly 1.5 million refugees probably by the end of today, which would have entered Poland, which have been brought into Poles' homes, which have been taken care of in an incredible way. But of course, this influx will most likely increase. So more and more support will be needed here to help them. On the military support front and in terms of the diplomatic front, of course, Poland is one of the strongest voices for Ukraine, for supporting Ukraine, for Ukraine immediate opening of the accession process to the European Union, and for the strongest possible response to Russia, including with major sanctions, because this is the only thing that Vladimir Putin will understand. It is the effect of power and might on the other side, and this is what we've been advocating this side of Europe for a long time. I think it is time to realize this is the reality and act upon it.
Mr. Brzezinski, in just a few words, Poland long sounded the alarm about the risk of Russian aggression. Have Poland's partners reacted too late?
I think definitely. It is definitely too late, but it's also not really a time maybe to blame and shame, but rather to stand up to the circumstances, to the situation. And this goes for many countries, and of course Germany being in the lead with the strongest political and economical power to stand up to Putin's aggression. And I think this is a time for Germany to stand on the right side of history, and I think we're seeing this move, but it needs to really accelerate. And I think this is the expectation. Capitals in Warsaw, from capitals in Bucharest, in the Baltic states, that really we see more German leadership, but also French leadership and other countries in the EU really standing with its full might, applicating sanctions on all oligarchs, blocking import of gas, of oil, truly making the pain felt by Russia.
Marcin